Hey guys, welcome back to Tech and Props. Today I'm going to be making an awesome Sith-inspired Assassin's Creed Hidden Blade from this awesome artwork here. So it's one little picture to work off, but I thought I'd just design a complete new lightsaber from scratch. So the design that I kind of took for this one was as sleek as possible. I wanted a shroud over the end and also wanted to attach this via some leather straps. So I had to build those into the actual design themselves, and I included a Sith Eternal emblem on the shroud there just because I really like that emblem and it looks really cool. And of course this has to be a Sith lightsaber. So once I finished the 3D model, it was time to print it. I print all my lightsabers on an Anycubic Mono X. This is a great big printer, and I get asked a lot what printer I use, and it's the Anycubic Mono X, and I would highly recommend it. So once you finish printing, you've got to take them off and clean them up. The first step is to clean them with paper towel. This removes all the excess resin on the prints. Then you just pop them in some isopropyl alcohol, leave them in there for about 30 seconds, then pull them out. You then want to go back and wipe them down with paper towel again just to remove any more excess resin and any isopropyl alcohol from the actual prints. Next step is to cure them fully, because when prints come off the printer they're not fully cured. So I've just got this UV light box, which is essentially just a box with a bunch of aluminium foil around it to reflect the light, turn on the UV light and let it go. So I did a test fit and it wasn't quite the right size, so I had to do a little bit of editing to the print to make it a bit smaller, and then did the test fit again and it went together perfectly. So the first thing I had to do was put the emitter section together. So that included just a PVC coupler glued into the end to take the lightsaber blade, and then glued the two pieces together. And then it was onto painting. So the first paint is always a grey primer. This just puts down the priming coat so that all the other paint will stick to it, followed by a gloss black coating, and then followed by a light dusting of some silver aluminium. It was then time to start painting the Sith emblem. So I did this in red because it's over gloss spray paint. There had to be a couple coats to get a nice thick coating of that red paint. So the next step was to start weathering it. Just doing a black wash over the whole thing. So this just means taking some watered down black paint, covering over the entire lightsaber, and then going back with paper towel and dabbing off the excess. And what this does is leave the black paint in all the nooks and crannies, and it's kind of there to simulate natural wear and tear and the dirt that builds up in all the nooks and crannies throughout the whole lightsaber. So once all the black paint had dried, it was then time to start working on the highlights. So I use a chrome silver Tamiya paint. This paint's really good for doing this because it's quite thick and you can get a nice coverage when dry brushing. So the technique that I use is dry brushing, and that's where you take a little bit of paint on the paintbrush, wipe off the majority of the paint just so there's a tiny bit left on there, and then you brush it over pretty much the whole lightsaber, and it just acts to pick up those hard edges where you'd naturally form scratches on the lightsaber, and it really makes it look like metal because it gives it that reflective shine. So once all the painting's finished, you just go back with a gloss clear coat and just seal all that paint in. So now that painting's done, it's time to start putting it together. So here I'm just putting in the LGT core of the lightsaber. So this is the electronics. You simply slide it up, put the screws in to screw it in place, and then put the end cap on. So once that's all together, it's time to start doing the leather working. So I want to start by cutting off some strips of some black false leather, and I don't know exactly how many I need at this point, so I'm just going to cut a bunch, and if I've got excess I'll use it on the next build. So what I've done is cut them a little bit smaller and then gluing on both of the insides, and then I'm going to thread these into the little hooks and the loops that I've put in to the lightsaber design, fold them on over themselves so it sticks together. So once that's done, it's time to start lining up where I'm going to put the push buttons to hold the lightsaber to the actual gauntlet. So I'm just going through and marking with a texter where I think they would be, then I can go in, add the holes, and then add all the accessories to it so it clips all together. So this was a bit of a slow process because I've never done leatherworking like this before, so I was taking my time making sure I was happy with the measurements to make sure that the lightsaber held onto the gauntlet in a nice firm way but not too loose that it would jiggle around. So I had to do a couple different versions of these straps here, but in the end I got them to the perfect length so that they were nice and firm on the gauntlet. So here I'm just adding the other side of the push buttons onto the actual gauntlet. So they have two sides. One is like the little pin and one is the buckle that it kind of goes into. So with those two bits together, it fits together quite nicely. So once I was happy with where they were sitting, it was time to just clean up the edges, put a bit of curve on them and paint them black to make it smooth. So once you've done one, go ahead and repeat it again, and now you've got two Assassin's Creed Hidden Blade gauntlets just like from the video games. So now it's time to start putting them on. So the first thing you want to put on is the underneath gauntlet, and then you clip on the lightsabers onto that with your push buttons. It can be a little bit tricky trying to do with two hands and a lightsaber in both hands, but not too hard once you get the hang of it. So once the lightsaber is on, it's then time to put the outer gauntlet on, and what this does is just really completes the look. So there's no modification to this outer gauntlet, it's just a simple one that slides the straps in and over the lightsaber and holds itself in place. So you just go do that with both of them and you're pretty much done. The very last thing you need is obviously lightsaber blades. So I took some longer lightsaber blades, cut them down a bit so they were only 20 centimeters long, put some caps on the end, and they slide perfectly into the ends of the lightsabers there. And then you have your finished Hidden Blade Assassin's Creed Sith lightsabers that have LGT electronics, so they've got sounds, they've got color changing, and obviously you have to go with red. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Enjoy these glamour shots, and I'll see you on the next video.